Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Before you do anything this morning, do this.
Aye, subscribe to One Celtic Fans View. Hail, hail.
Hail. See you later.
All right, thanks a lot.
See you later, Tomo.
In this morning's video, I'm going to give you an alternative to selling Matt O'Reilly. Now, in the long term, I think it actually makes more sense. And I wonder if the board and Brendan Rodgers have actually thought like this, or you know what they're like. They're just short-termism and looking at the 25 million that is just about being offered. Well, it has been offered allegedly by a team plus 4 million in add-ons. But before that, we want to go back in history. Yes, want to go back in history and talk about a young player that left the Celtic under-17s back in 2005. A player that left Celtic back in 2005 and joined Hamilton Academical. Yes, he joined Hamilton Accies, and he went on to have a little not bad of a career at Hamilton. And he thrived in the game. And he caught the glimpse of Celtic once again. And you would have thought that Celtic would have bought him back. That was all over the papers at the time that Celtic would go in for this young guy who was actually on fire in the SPFL. And he was Celtic daft. He was absolutely Celtic daft. But rather than muck around for the initial fee that was alleged to be around about 2 million, Celtic thought, we are not paying 2 million for a player that we let go at under 17 level. You have to be kidding. Hamilton Accies? No, we're not going to pay that money. Does it sound familiar? I mean, this is going back to 2009 now, when Celtic were linked to the player that we let go in 2005. And the player was then sold to Wigan for 2 million, with add-ons going up to 5 million. And Wigan then sold him to Everton. Yes, they sold him to Everton for 15 million in 2013. That was at a point where 2013, where Celtic had never received that kind of transfer fee for a player. And he then went on from Everton to Crystal Palace, and then from Crystal Palace, he ended up back at Celtic in 2021, fulfilling a lifetime ambition to pull on the hoops as an adult player and play for the club that he loved. Over the last week, he's now been airbrushed from the history, having hardly kicked a ball for Celtic. Yes, it's the one and only James McCarthy. James McCarthy's been airbrushed from Celtic. He's been taken down from the Celtic website as a player in the pool, and it was suggested by Lanky, big shout out to Lanky, that at the beginning of the week, or was it the end of the week, that he had left, that James McCarthy had left Celtic, which brings down the curtain on his Celtic career. And it has to be said that it was a disappointing Celtic career. He kind of left the way that he left the first time round. And I feel for the guy. I mean, nobody knows the story. Nobody knows exactly what went on with James McCarthy and why he didn't fulfill his ambition to play for Celtic in the capacity that he would have wanted to. But it's came to an end. And finally, he's off the wage bill, as some would see. But it is a strange one. It is a strange one. And the fact that he started his career at Celtic, let's hope that he gets another club and he doesn't finish his career at Celtic. Because it would be... Celtic are just... I don't know. The fact that he started off his career at Celtic and we let him go at under 17 level for a free transfer. A free transfer to Hamilton. Yeah. Anyway, here's to James McCarthy. Thanks for the memories. Not that there was very many. And I sincerely hope that he goes on and does better things. Because, let's face it, the last 3 years, it'll be 3 years that he really wants to just put in the past. And I wonder if he'll ever tell the story exactly what happened. Like, what happened to James McCarthy? It'll be one of those pub quiz questions in years to come. Which is, yeah. But anyway, there is other news, and other news considering a player, Matt O'Reilly. Now, I have had a little thought this morning. Celtic has been reported in Italy last night. An Italian broadcaster said that Brighton have finally offered the 25 million plus 4 million in add-ons to Celtic. Now, here's a thought that I wonder if anyone at Celtic has actually had. Let's not take this 25 million. Okay, stick with me with this one. And I think a lot of the fans might actually like this. Let's not take the 25 million for Matt O'Reilly, because it's going to add to the balance sheet this year and we'll get a little slap on the back. But what if we were to keep Matt O'Reilly for 3 years and we gained access to the Champions League for the 3 years under the new format? That would be the best part of 150 million in the bank to Celtic rather than taking the short-term look at 25 million. Wouldn't that be more beneficial to Celtic to get an income of 50 million each year over the next 3 years rather than 25 million just to get the player sold just now? I mean, in 3 years' time, you might still be able to sell Matt O'Reilly for 25 million, maybe even more, because he'll be a bit older, he'll be a bit more experienced, and you'll get some top teams coming in from it instead of Brighton. Maybe it's just a thought. It's just a thought, and I wonder if anyone at Celtic actually thinks like that. I mean, I know that Brendan Rodgers, as a manager, says, "Look, you don't have to leave Celtic," and then he flips it and says, "But we can't offer the wages that other teams can." If we're going to go into the Champions League 3 years in a row, and it's just we know that we'll have to try and qualify, but I think when you've got Matt O'Reilly in the team, and if we build a team around Matt O'Reilly, and we become a little bit of a force. And we take that next level that we all want as Celtic fans. We all want to do that. And I think build the nucleus of a really good team. Not one that can not only dominate Scottish football, because that's the board's main objective, is to dominate Scottish football and get into Europe and get a little payday. What if we were to dominate Scottish football as they wish? I mean, I think it's disrespectful coming out and saying that, but as fans, we expect it as well. We've been kind of spoiled over the last 15 years anyway, when it comes to a football sense. When you speak to older fans, yes, us older buggers that suffered through the 1990s when Celtic finished nowhere near top three one season. When you look back under Liam Brady and Lou Macari as managers, the modern day Celtic fan have had it lucky. They have had it lucky. When Brendan Rodgers came home, he answered the song, and he came home for when he came to Celtic the first time. We have been spoilt since then. But what if we were to just take that little bit of a gamble and say Matt O'Reilly's not for sale? Matt O'Reilly's not for sale for 25 million this year, next year, or the year after. We're going to build a team around Matt O'Reilly. We want to get into the Champions League for the next 3 seasons, because the new format in the Champions League gives us it's eight games or something, 8 to 10 games in the Champions League, and the chances of even more money, I think, is a little bit, from a business perspective as well. I think it's a little bit short-sightedness. I mean, you could take even a fraction of the money that we got for Jota that we never spent last season. You can take a fraction of that. You can take a fraction of the 100 odd million that we do have in the bank, and bring in one really good player to supplement Matt O'Reilly. One really good defender and a left back. That's all we really need now. We need another striker. But you could spend, say we were to spend 20 million this season on 3 or 4 good players that we know that will help us. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to help us this season in the Champions League, right? Because I think they've been coming into the squad a bit late. But I think it's to guarantee that we have maximise our opportunity to get into the Champions League the season after, when there's no automatic qualification. I think that's where Celtic are going short-sighted at the moment. And it's maybe just the dreamer in me. It's maybe just the fan and not the businessman. But as a businessman and a fan, I think that would make perfect sense. And even if Celtic were to put down a marker and say, no, he's not for sale, because until Matt, and I think Matt would be over the moon with that, give him a pay rise. Give him 45 grand a week. Do you know what? If that's what it takes, give him 45 grand a week, get into the Champions League for the next 3 seasons, bring in over 150 million from the Champions League in the next 3 seasons. Bob's your uncle. Shirt sales go through the roof. Fans go through the roof because we're in the Champions League. We're performing in the Champions League. We're not just there for the ride and for to collect the 50 million. You know, we're actually winning a few games. And then you can start talking about building the stadium bigger and getting that 100,000 stadium that people talk around it. Even if it was to go to 80,000, get it to 80,000, and then there's even more money comes into Celtic. That's what Barcelona did. Barcelona thought, how can we make more money as a club? We've maxed out on our merchandise. We seem to have hit a ceiling merchandise-wise, as has, I think, Celtic will. I think Celtic will max it around about 35 million. They did 32 million this year. When you look at the fan base and the size of the fan base, I think it'll be lucky to get over the 35 million mark 2 seasons in a row. When you look at what Barcelona did, they thought, the stadium needs an upgrade. Do you know what? Let's just knock the stadium down and build a bigger one. Let's knock the stadium down, build an even bigger one so that we can generate even more money. I thought the businessmen at Celtic were good. They are good. This is not knocking them to this morning. They are good. But it's just giving a little bit of a different perspective on a way that we could generate more money. We can keep our best players, and we can, even if it's just a 3 to 5 year plan, just a 3 to 5 year plan, take the bull by the horn, as they say here in Spain. Take the bull by the horn and just put out a statement of intent. And I think that if that was to be the case, if the board were to be brave enough to do that, I think that the fans would jump on board like you have never seen before. And I think that that would add to the euphoria, and it would also add to the spending power of the fan. And then Celtic might get over that 35 million in merchandise, that ceiling that they'll hit. But anyway, it is just a dream. It is just a pipe dream. The fact is, the news that is coming out this morning is suggested that, yes, the Seagulls offer is really close to the asking price for Matt O'Reilly. The news will be greeted warmly by Atlanta, who are desperate to take him to Serie A, but they're well under the asking price. Southampton might respond. It is, we're not sure what's going to happen yet, but there's one thing that for sure. It could be the end game. It could be the end game as far as Celtic are concerned. And then I got sent a little picture last night, and I think you might have seen it on the community tab. On Football Manager, there has to be, when it comes to Celtic, a difficulty level called 7. It's the Peter Lawwell level. It's the Peter Lawwell level, where you have to sell a player for 20 million plus before we seriously go into the transfer market. And I thought that was it was quite funny. And we'll have to laugh and we'll have to be funny. And we know that Peter Lawwell doesn't have an active role at the club on a day-to-day basis, allegedly. It's all down to Nicholson and his chief finance director. But it's just a little thought this morning. It is just a little thought that maybe Celtic could go down a different route completely. But you never know. Now, if anyone at Celtic is watching, they're probably going, shit, Baz, that might actually be a good idea, but it's too late. It's too late. The bids are coming in for 25 million plus, which we wanted. Anyway, another Celtic news this morning. Darren O'Dea. Darren O'Dea is making headlines. Yes, Darren O'Dea, who is now the pathway manager at Celtic, was given that brand new role at Celtic, is in demand. And it comes from, yes, my once hometown. It comes from the good old streets of Raith. Yes, it comes from Raith Rovers in Kirkcaldy. He's on the wanted list as their new manager. The Raith Rovers, who have highly ambitious board, because my brother knows a lot of the people on the board through his work. Has been said that they want Darren O'Dea. They did sack Ian Murray after one game into the season. One game into the season has to be the quickest ever that they sacked anybody. But they have launched a quick fire hunt for a new manager, and Darren O'Dea, who's recently took over as pathway manager, to show the youngsters at Celtic that there is a pathway. Now, even going back to the start of the video, when we look back at the fact that back in 2005, Celtic let go a youngster. Same old Celtic. They did let go a youngster at under 17 level because he never seen a pathway into the first team. And it was suggested that he turned down Celtic when Hamilton had him on the market because Wigan, when he spoke to the Wigan manager, yes, Roberto Martinez, he turned out to be no bad manager. He was linked to Celtic once. He done fantastic with Belgium with an ex-Celtic player. Tell me in the comments who the Celtic player was with Roberto Martinez, who was the Belgian manager. Tell me in the comments who was his assistant. That was a fantastic player from Celtic that, funnily enough, came through the youth system. Anyway, on that note, Darren Rafe, never going to happen. Surely not. He's not going to jump ship already. That note, have absolutely fantastic. There will be a live this evening. Sorry about the live last night. It was cancelled late on. There will be a live this evening. There will also be an afternoon update hitting your screens around about 5 p.m. tonight. So watch out for that one, just in case there's any movement on the Matt O'Reilly story today. And on that note, Mr. Wiggle.
Lit. Roll up to the party, roll up to the party, roll up to the party,